Welcome to 805 Life Podcast, where we pull back the curtain and expose the truth and myths about real estate here in the 805 and beyond. I am Sergio Gonzalez with SG Associates, and I'm back with my lovely co-host, Courtney Allen.
Hello. You're getting good at doing that intro.
I know. I'll get it down at least by number 5.
It's fine. Even if you don't, it's good.
So,
today,
yes,
we are talking about consumer behavior.
Okay.
Which I know nothing about. So I'm just going to let you just take it.
Well, I think the consumer behavior has definitely changed. Just in the last 10 years, I think technology really exponentially changes every 10 years, right?
Okay.
Like if you think here we are 2021, right? So, let's just say it was last year, 10 years prior, YouTube and Facebook were kind of still relatively
We
newish,
still had MySpace.
right? You still had MySpace back then.
Yeah.
And look at where we are today, right?
Yeah.
Amazon was still selling books,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Wow.
So when you look every 10 years, it exponentially changes consumer behavior. And if you look at the way people are buying things now from normal consumer products, right? So everything is Amazon, right? A lot of people is like, hey, click a button, boom, it's on my doorstep like next day.
Literally.
And now they're trying to make it same day, right?
Yeah.
When you look at what's transpired, obviously during COVID, like grocery stores, right? Some people didn't want to go to grocery stores. Boom, next thing you know, you get groceries delivered to your house. Mm-hmm. And it's a game changer, right? When you look at, like, for my wife, who's running around with 5 kids, right? Newborn and, kids all the way up to 10. Like, how fun is it to get them all in the car, get them in their seats, unload them, wrangle them all through the store and be like, Mommy, I want this. Mommy, I want that. Where are you? Get over here. They spill stuff. They drop, like, that sounds like a disaster. I don't do that, but I can only imagine, like having to do that, right? Like, so one of the things that's made her life easier, as an example, is, hey, go on your phone, go on either Amazon or Instacart and other things, and people will go to the grocery store for you, right? And they'll bring those groceries to you. Boom, it's on your doorstep in a few hours or whenever you want it to be. You pick your drop-off time, right?
I used to do that all the time in New York because I don't want to walk like how many blocks back to my apartment. I would get Whole Foods, please.
Right.
It was so easy.
And I think it kind of started with Amazon for the most part. And then I think it transitioned over to the food delivery, right? Like was it Uber Eats, and before Uber Eats it was DoorDash. Right?
I still use DoorDash.
DoorDash is still around.
Seamless.
And it's like amazing. Like, I don't have to stop and do what I'm doing. I continue to work or continue what I want to do, and magically in 30 minutes or an hour my food's brought to me. And time is of the essence. So I think what people are recognizing is that time is really valuable. And everything is moving so fast. People wanting instant results, instant response, right?
Yeah.
Like if you send a text message to somebody, aren't you literally waiting for the bubbles to start, right?
I watch sometimes.
The 3 little dots to start percolating there.
Yep.
And you're like, why are they not responding? Right? Are you ignoring me?
Yes.
Right?
Yep, literally.
Like, what's going on? So I think the consumer behavior is changing to where when they want to meet with you or they want to see a house or they're thinking about selling their house, they want answers now. They want the information now. And they don't want to wait around for, when it's convenient or when it's on a schedule per se. They're like, hey, I'm thinking about selling my house. Do you want to come over and see it?
Yeah.
They're like, yes.
Right.
And putting that in play and having the answers for them at your fingertips, right? Like, you better know your stuff, right? Try going to a doctor or an attorney and you explaining your situation of, you know, your aches and pains and this and that. And they're like, okay, Courtney, you know what? Give me a couple of days. I'm going to do a little research for you.
Right.
And let's schedule our next appointment. And I'll tell you, you know, what I think is wrong with you. You'd be like, what?
Like, I would have anxiety. Right? Just waiting a couple days, like, oh, what is actually wrong with me? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the same type of feelings people, you know, homeowners have when they're thinking about selling their house is like, hey, I want to bring over the expert, I want to bring over an agent who knows what they're doing, and I want answers. I want, you know, step-by-step process of expectations of what it's going to take, what do I need to do, what are you going to do, and how can we make this happen, right? And they don't want to, you know, wait for you to come back with answers. They kind of expect a professional, right? And I think that's what everybody's expecting right now is just like instant results, instant information. That's why we go to Google, right? We don't want to wait around and ask for people. Or like, let me just Google that.
Or Siri.
Makes
it even easier.
Right? Or Siri or a YouTube. Like sometimes like I don't want to wait for somebody to come fix something or figure something out. I'm like, you know what? Let me YouTube that. Right? And somebody's put it on there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I think the consumer behavior is changing more towards an instant gratification, on-demand response, and if you're not available, is your content out there that I can just find? So maybe they're not ready to speak to you yet. They're still in a research phase, and they want to. They're out there Googling or YouTubing what needs to happen. And if your content pops up, whether that's video or a podcast, and they're like, hey, you know what? What they're talking about and what they're saying resonates with me. That's kind of my style. It's kind of my vibe. Maybe I should just call him or her, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I think that's why, like, all the information and content that we have in our heads, right? Like, hey, I'm an amazing, you know, CPA. I'm an amazing attorney. I'm an amazing, you know, whatever your business is. I'm an amazing realtor. We can't be secret agents and keep all of that to ourselves.
Right.
We need to share and put out everything that we've experienced, good and bad, right? Because we can't always paint a rosy picture of, oh, every transaction is, you know, just the dreamy transaction. And I think that's part of the reason why we're doing this podcast is like, you know, hey, we're pulling back the curtain, telling you the raw, real truths and myths about real estate and transactions and thoughts and processes.
Yeah.
Whether you're a business owner or a homeowner or a buyer, like, you know, we're ripping off the Band-Aid and we're just going to give it to you straight. Like, hey, here's mistakes that these people have made. This is why they happen.
Yeah.
This is what you want to avoid. And things like this, the consumer expectation, right? Like, what are you expecting as a buyer when you click on a link on a website, right? It says, contact me about this house. They're literally waiting for their phone to ring.
Literally.
Right? But if the agent is busy,
right,
not responsive, not calling them, they're moving on to the next property, contact agent, right?
There's no patience. No more patience.
There's no more patience. So, you know, I think it's really putting systems and processes in place that are going to be able to handle that kind of expectation, right? So an example is like when someone inquires on one of our listings, we have a capture, right? You got to enter your name, your phone number, your email, and then it's going to text me, it's going to email me, and I know where that contact is coming from, like what it's about. So I'm prepared to have the conversation. Hey, Courtney, it looks like you were just looking at one of my listings here in North Ranch on 123 Main Street. You know, what can I help you with? Right. And it's a better experience versus like, calling you an hour later and you're off busy doing, hey, you know what? I'm with my kids now, or I'm back at work now. Like, call me later, like you didn't meet the client's expectations. So you're already off on a bad start.
Yeah.
On rapport.
Yeah.
Which says you're non-responsive, like you're not available. And I think that is kind of what we're seeing in the real estate space as that continues to evolve and change.
Yeah. Do you think that over the years there was a specific maybe age bracket that the consumer behavior has drastically changed?
I think that it catches up, right? So Amazon as an example, right? So Amazon, Facebook, and like obviously I would say, Generation X, which is my generation, right? Like 70s, right? We were on MySpace and Facebook and, Amazon. They're like, hey, this is cool, right? Like, and iPhones, like we're the generation of iPhone, right? So like check out the new Apple computer and Apple laptop and iPod and iPhones. Like we're testing out all that technology and then training or helping our parents who are baby boomers,
which I'm still trying to teach my mother. Yes.
Right. We have parents who are baby boomers who grew up in a generation of newspapers.
Yeah. No technology.
And magazines. Right. And so getting them on iPhones, getting them on how to use Amazon, getting them on using the internet and things like that. I think there's a lag time of when that's happened, but I think now, now they say, well, Facebook is for old people, right? Well, again,
we literally had this conversation,
right? Like, I think there's a lag time between like Facebook now, baby boomer generation realizes, hey, I can see my grandkids every day.
Yeah.
Because the moms and dads are posting videos and photos, and you can kind of get real time experience versus waiting for the weekend or whenever they decide to come visit. I think it's a way for people to connect. So people again are wanting instant
gratification.
I want instant gratification. I want to see my grandkids today. What's happening today, not months from now or weeks from now. And it's the same thing with buying a house, selling a house, and other businesses, at the end of the day.
What have you had to change specifically for your business while consumer behavior is also drastically changing?
I think it really comes down to the response time.
Okay.
And also being prepared for the call. So meaning what I mean by that is like, when we look at the buyer journey or the seller journey, and we can start with the buyer journey. So we're dealing with the buyer journey, like it starts with a pain point, right? Like, hey, you know what? The house is getting a little too tight, too small. Maybe we should think about getting a bigger house. And so what do? They're like, well, if we were going to move,
right,
I'd like to maybe live in this neighborhood. And so what do? They go drive around through the neighborhood. Yep. They're looking on Google, houses for sale in, North Ranch or Westlake, right? Like specific neighborhoods. So they're driving around. They're maybe going to go for a walk in the neighborhood, right? They're going to take their dogs. Hey, kids, let's go ride our bikes in this neighborhood. See what it's like. What are the neighbors like? What are the houses like? What are the lots like? Which houses have views?
Yeah.
Which streets are cul-de-sacs? What style of houses would they like in that neighborhood? If that house ever came up for sale, I'd buy it, right? Like those are kinds of the things that they're getting excited about,
right.
They're falling in love with. So, and then they're looking at, okay, what has sold in the neighborhood? So they're doing tons of research about this particular neighborhood and area. And so when they call about a house in that neighborhood and they call the agent and they're like, hey, contact me about this house. And the agent doesn't know anything about what's happening in that neighborhood, right? Like you don't have the knowledge, you
Right.
don't have an experience or expertise that can bring value there. I think there's a disconnect. So I think it's about being, yes, responsive, but it's also understanding that the consumer has done enough research on their own that you better have at the very least the exact same knowledge, if not hopefully more.
You have to be on top of your game.
You got to be on top of your game. So I think the level of knowledge, like local expert knowledge of neighborhoods and communities and life, it needs to be at a next level above what the consumer. So you like going back to, hey, you got to keep learning and growing and like amassing more content, and, so you can offer more value, because the client journey, they're doing a ton of more research now before they even want to talk to you.
Right.
Right. And their only reason why they're having to talk to us is because they realize they need us to get into the door.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, if we didn't even have to open the door, they would just go themselves.
Probably.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I think that's kind of how we've adjusted, is ensuring that understanding that the client has done a lot of research already about a particular house. So it's really like, hey, Courtney, it seems like you've been, looking at some of our listings here in Westlake Village. What's no longer working about, in your current home, right? And you're gonna be like, well, we're thinking of growing. Oh, so it sounds like you have a growing family, Have you already explored what neighborhoods here in Westlake you've been considering, or what price range have you been considering?
Right.
You're like, well, we really want to stay in that, 1.5 to $2 million range. Okay, cool, great, congratulations. There's probably at least 5 neighborhoods that come to mind that fit the exact fit that price point. And that would be, this neighborhood, this neighborhood, and this. Oh, that's the neighborhood we've been thinking about. Boom. Now there's a connection there, right, of rapport and almost immediate trust, because now I'm on the same page as you.
Right. I wish there was, maybe there is something like this. I don't know. Maybe but you know how in LinkedIn, like you can see when people have viewed your profile. I wish there was something like that for real estate that
There is.
Oh, there is. See, I was gonna say. So then you see a person that looked at this house and like you're gonna get on top of your game. Well, okay. Well, then there is something.
Yeah. So with it, there's amazing technology now that allows us, like when you register on our site, because again, like I want something from you, you want something from me.
Right.
You want access to listings that I have that may not be even on the market yet, and I want access to you to talk to you.
Right.
Right? To see if we can do business together. So once I've gotten your information to view some of my listings, I know when you're on my website. I know how many properties you've looked at. I know what pages you've looked at. I know how often you come back to my website.
Stalking.
Yeah. And I know what times you're coming to my website. So that kind of gives me, it's all to give me insight of your buying, your consumer behavior patterns.
Right.
Like Courtney only looks at houses after 7:00.
That would, yeah. That's,
right? Courtney likes these types of houses consistently. Courtney's only looking in this price range, right? Courtney is, coming back, looked at a lot of houses this week, right? So that tells me, hey, this person,
I want it.
Courtney's getting pretty active here. That maybe that's a serious person that I should, follow up with a little bit more frequently.
One day I'll come to you when I want a house.
So, the consumer behavior now is being tracked, right? So like there's been a big to do recently, right? With, the big tech companies, Google, Amazon, Facebook, like, what do you think they're doing? Like Siri's probably listening to us right now.
Oh, no, she is.
Right?
She absolutely is.
So all this consumer behavior is being tracked and recorded and mined so that businesses can change their messaging, change their branding, change their behavior, change their strategies on how they deliver content to you in the way that you want it, how, when you want it, and why you want it, right? And so it's fascinating to be able to incorporate some of those things into our business,
right?
Via the data tracking through artificial intelligence with text messaging, right, to follow up and nurture.
Social media
and retargeting. So like if you come to my website and go back on Facebook or Instagram, I'm going to be delivering, this podcast, these clips, my videos, my listings, my reviews. Like you are now in my web and you are not getting out. You're in the SGA world.
Yeah.
And we're never going to let you out until you buy or sell from us.
Yeah.
And that's how relationships are being established in today's, environment. It's starting online and then comes offline, right? So relationships are starting online until they get offline. And then that's where the magic really is going to happen, right? Am I the same person offline that you see online?
Do you think it was easier when there was no social media?
No, I think it's harder. I would think it would be harder because now I can reach people that I never have access to.
True.
Right? And I think also people that I'm a big believer in, like, your vibe attracts your tribe.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right. Ooh, that's another one to put on a plaque.
Yeah. So I want to work with people that are like me, or we have some commonality in beliefs and work ethic and, stuff like that. So, for me, that's people that like me, trust me, respect me, and take my advice, right? Like that's my ideal client. And I think that anytime I've sacrificed any one of those components and I've made a choice to
right.
The relationship is always rocky, right? Because if they don't trust me, like they want to hire me, but they don't necessarily trust me.
Right.
There's tension there. Like, yes, we're going to get the job done, but it's painful. Like, dealing with a client that doesn't trust what your process might be, right? I've had clients question me on well, I was looking at the order of the photos that you put them in, and I don't really agree with the flow of how you put them in order. Can we change it and move this photo in front of this one and change this one before this one? I've had clients do that.
Wow.
Right? And it's a nightmare.
That's ain't that? Wow.
Do you know how many houses I've sold? There's
what you're doing.
I know what I'm doing. Do you go to your doctor and say, you know what?
Wrong.
I don't think you should use that tool, and I don't really agree with your procedure process of how this surgery is going to go down. You just don't do that, right? So I think that anytime that I've, and we've all done it, right? Because you're hey, I'm trying to build my career. I'm trying to build my business and my brand, and this would be an amazing listing or property to add towards my portfolio of sales, right? Like a signature sales, a big listing, but the client is painful. You are making a choice, right? I didn't have to accept it. I could have been you know what, you're not the client for me.
Right. But you did.
But I did.
Yeah.
Because you're oh, I need it, right? I want it. I need it.
Yep.
And it's because you chose to sacrifice one of those 4 things, right? Like me, trust me, respect me, and take my advice. And anytime I've sacrificed or chosen to forego one of those things, it's always been a painful experience.
Painful experience. Who knows what's going to change again in the next year, 2 years, 5
Right.
years.
And I think those expectations, again, are like finding those people. I think that's why we're pushing out content, like to say, hey, look, this is how I work. This is who I am. This is how I operate, right? And this is what I stand for. This is how we do business. And this is how we've helped clients. This is how we've, saved them, protected them, advised them. And if you're like that, if you're like them, we want to work with you, right? And if you're not, that's okay, because we probably wouldn't want to work with you either, right? So I think that is the beauty of some of this social media and the different ways to deliver content, is to really be able to express yourself, share yourself, and get to know people in a different way, from a more of a observation, perspective, right? Before making contact, right, with that person, and say, hey, I've been watching you over the years. I've been following your podcast for a little bit now. I've been watching your YouTube videos for now. Or I've seen you on Facebook, and I heard what you said today, and that really resonated with me. Right. Like I did a video, I did a Facebook Live video yesterday.
Yes. Oh, I saw it.
Right.
Yes.
And then I talked to a few agents later on in the day, and they're like, hey, I watched your video. And like, I didn't even know they were watching. Right. So, but they're like, that really resonated with me. Like, it's so nice to hear. Right. And so again, building and sharing who I am to an audience that I've never met, or I might not be able to connect with on a regular basis, and they may not be ready for me. They may not be ready to come in contact with me because, for whatever reasons, right? They're at another company and they're uncomfortable, they're unsure, and what am I about, and what rumors are out there, or what's being said, right? Like, you have all this dynamics going on.
But you could be in the back of their mind.
But I'll be in that subconscious right over their little shoulder.
Right there.
on Facebook and Instagram, and emails and everywhere. So I think in a nutshell, that's kind of what's happening in consumer behavior.
Yeah. So basically, listen to the podcast, go on Sergio's Facebook, go on the websites, basically just look into everything that he's done.
So pretty much follow me on YouTube.
Yes.
Click that little bell, and Instagram. I think we're going to put some of this on TikTok as well. My kids love TikTok. My kids are TikTok junkies.
I don't know how to use it. It's too hard to make a video.
Oh my God. You got to be like super creative. Anyways, I think we can wrap it up for today's episode on that note.
Yeah.
But so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you like what Courtney and I are talking about. And as we continue to talk about real estate and business and here in the 805. So thanks again, and stay tuned for the next episode of 805 Live Podcast.
See you later.